Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to talk about one player before we do talk about the pre-match preview. And that one player is about Bryan Gil. So if you guys do not know who Bryan Gil is, this is a player that has actually been recommended towards me for me to talk about in certain videos. And so I am going to be talking about Bryan Gil within this video. Bryan Gil is a 20-year-old left winger that does play for Spain. He has yet to play for the first team of Spain, but he has played for the younger division Spain team before. And currently, Bryan Gil is on loan with Eibar, but his original team is Sevilla. He has started his loan with Eibar in the summer of 2020 and will complete his loan by the end of this season, which will be in the summer of 2021. But his main team is Sevilla. The main reason why Bryan Gil has been so praised as of late, it is because of his versatility and his technique that he does show on the field. And because Bryan Gil has been talked about so many times in the media, it is because one of the scouts of Barcelona, who is very well known and has done a very decent job with this club, who is named Mani, has called out this player. He is that scouter that has found Bryan Gil and has praised him because of the way that he does play. Mani, who is again a Barcelona scout, has also discovered players such as Ansu Fati and the legendary Andres Iniesta. So every time he does speak about a player, the world is going to be listening. And most importantly, the Barcelona fans and the people within Barcelona are going to be listening to what Mani does have to say. And so this is what Mani had to say about Bryan Gil, and I quote, "Right now, he is Spain's best footballer and I compare him with Neymar. He can do certain things and he has great versatility as he can play at fullback, in the middle, or on the left wing. It's very impressive. I have spoken with Ramon Planes about him and he does have Bryan Gil in mind. If he did sign now, then his release clause is going to be a total of 35 million euros, but if he signs a new deal with Sevilla, then he will have a release clause worth of around 150 million euros. Here's the thing about Bryan Gil. This is a player that's extremely decent when he is on the field, but I do think that the scout that is currently looking at is not seeing this player as if, oh, he is a finished product. He can do very well with FC Barcelona when he does come in. He's not looking at him in that way. What he is looking at is, this is the type of player he could become if he is surrounded by these certain players. That is what the scout does see. That is basically their job. So if you were to look at this player and just rate him on who he is today and what he can do currently on the field, he is a very decent player, but by no means a player where he is a Ansu Fati or a younger Lionel Messi or a younger Cristiano Ronaldo. But one of the biggest problems about this potential transfer of Bryan Gil is that his transfer fee would be worth around 35 million euros. And looking at today's market and seeing what Barcelona can financially afford at the moment, it is way too expensive, especially when you know that you want to pay 35 million euros for a prospect that you have seen at Eibar. And so when we do look for new players out there, like in Eibar or Valencia or Everton or any other team out there in Europe, and we look at this player that we do not know anything about, you have to take into account two different things. One is going to be, okay, for Barcelona, what position do we need to address and what positions do need to be strengthened? And number two is going to be, what's our budget? What can we afford? What makes sense for us to give out in order for us to give in? And that's going to be it, right? I just think that 35 million euros is way too much for a club like Barcelona. And if a club were to want to spend 35 million euros on a player, at least make that position that you do want to strengthen make sense, because this is a player that does play as a left winger. He can play as a right winger, and he has been also recognized as a very great left back at times. And that is what really gets me thinking, right? Like, what is Ramon Planes and Mani thinking when it does come to this transfer? Because if we're talking about those positions, why don't you just give Collado a chance? Why don't you just give Conrad de la Fuente another chance? Why don't you just give, if we're talking about him playing as a left back, Alejandro Balde a chance? Those are the type of players you do want to implement within the first team, not a player that's Spaniard and that's worth around 35 million euros. You're only going to make those positions more saturated, and you're also going to be losing a lot of youth prospects who want to make it into the first team. We have already seen over the past 2 years, many young players from the academy leave very early because they see that they're not given enough chances in order to prove themselves that they can be good enough for the Barcelona first team. But that's going to be my quick take on this player. This is a very decent player. He has a great future. I do expect him to do very well with Sevilla and Eibar. I am going to be watching him. I'm going to be supporting him. But as of now, given the context of where Barcelona is at, this will not be a good transfer. But now going into the pre-match preview between Barcelona and Alaves. So Barcelona is going to be playing at home, which is great. It's great to see that Barcelona does not have to travel. We have played enough away games in January, and now we are going to be playing our second home game in a row. And so here's the deal. when we talk about this game that's going to be happening on Saturday, I'm going to give this pre-match preview a very different approach because of what's been going on in the past 3 to 4 days. This is a game where Barcelona is expected to win 3 points. We are expected to beat this team 3-0, 4-0, or maybe even 5-0. Barcelona must do a good job in tomorrow's night's match. But the main conversation that has been going on around Barcelona has not been about Barcelona versus Alaves. The conversation has been about Barcelona versus PSG. That is the game that everyone is waiting for. There has been way less conversations about, okay, how can we win the next match? And there has been more about how can we beat PSG and be ready for PSG next Tuesday. And I get it, right? I get why there is so much pressure for Barcelona to do well up against PSG because there's just so much demand coming from the Barcelona fan base and the media for them to do well in the Champions League. And Barcelona especially does have to hit it on the first try when we do play against them on Tuesday because Barcelona is going to be playing at the Camp Nou. We must take advantage of the first game and get as many goals as possible. And Ronald Koeman and Barcelona and the players and everyone within the club does know that. They have to be absolutely perfect in order to get a good result within the first leg. So the players have to be mentally and physically ready. And now knowing that, right, Ronald Koeman has explained what his team has to go through once they do play up against Alaves. And he said this, and I quote, "We will not be able to do many rotations because there is not so much to change. We want to put a team capable of winning the game. If we win, we will have less mental fatigue than if we don't win. It will be a difficult game up against a very physical opponent. We need everyone available. We need freshness in the team. Physically, we are very well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done so well in the second half up against Sevilla, pressing and dominating the game. But some players are very loaded with minutes and need some rest." Out of that quote that we just got from Ronald Koeman in the pre-match press conference, this gave me two things. One, Koeman is very well aware that there needs to be heavy rotation up against Alaves to be ready for PSG. But that is going to lead us towards point number two. Because he's very well aware that there needs to be rotation up against Alaves, he is also very well aware that even if he wanted to, it would be extremely difficult to do so because we do not have the players in order to make heavy rotations on Saturday night's match. And he completely understands that he has no choice, which is now going to lead us towards the predicted starting 11. What could Ronald Koeman place up against Alaves in order for them to be fully rested, physically and mentally prepared once we do play that match up against PSG on Tuesday night? So here is going to be my starting 11, and we are going to be staying on here for a good moment. I do want to say Marc-Andre ter Stegen in goal. As for our defensive line, I do expect to see Jordi Alba as the left back, Samuel Umtiti and Mingueza as the center back duo, and then Firpo playing as the right back yet again. Now, let's take on this defensive line for a second. The main reason why I have placed Firpo as the right back yet again, even though I myself have criticized that Firpo should never play right back again, it is because I just do not see Ronald Koeman placing all 3 center backs within the same game. You lose one center back, our defensive line is going to be much weaker. I just do not see that. Yes, we could go for a defensive lineup of Mingueza as the right back and Samuel Umtiti and Longley as the center back duo. We could do that, but I just don't see Ronald Koeman going for that. Then moving on to the 3 midfielders, I do expect to see Busquets within the pivot, Pjanic as the interior, and Puig as the other interior. Now keep in mind, there is a very 50-50 chance on whether Pjanic is going to be playing, yes or no. Pjanic is one of many players who are currently injured, but as of now, for today's video, if Pjanic does manage to play, I do expect Pjanic to start in the starting 11 because the last thing many of us do want to see is for Pedri and Frenkie de Jong to start up against Alaves. Yes, it is going to be a very difficult match going up against Alaves, but these players are here for a reason and they can get the job done. There is no reason to come into a conclusion that our bench players cannot get the job done. Pjanic and Riqui Puig are good enough to get a great result up against Alaves. And then as for our front 3, I do expect to see Antoine Griezmann as the left winger, Messi as the striker, and Trincao as the right winger. And so one of the last few points I do want to make about this lineup is that no, I do not think that we are going to see players being fully absent within the starting 11. I do believe that what we are going to see the important players that need to be rested see less minutes. So one of the players that Ronald Koeman needs to add great emphasis in terms of giving these important players less minutes would be number 1, Frenkie de Jong, Pedri, Antoine Griezmann, and Dembele. Those are going to be the 4 players where I do see Ronald Koeman giving them less minutes, whether it's putting them very late in the game or taking them out very early within the match. But that's going to be it for today's Barcelona pre-match preview. Let me know what's going to be your predicted starting 11 and your predicted scoreline up against Alaves. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.